Section 45 of Modern Magic. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Modern Magic, a practical treatise on the art of conjuring by Professor Hoffmann. Miscellaneous Tricks, Part 12. The Vanishing Canary Bird and Cage. This is another favorite die trick. The performer exhibits a canary bird in a little oblong brass cage, measuring 6 inches by 4. He next exhibits a die 3 inches square, showing all sides to prove that it is solid. This he places upon a tray, which is held by the assistant, and covers it with a fancy cover as already described. He now throws a handkerchief over the cage. Bringing it forward thus covered to the company, he orders the cage to vanish, the die to pass into a borrowed hat, and the bird to appear upon the tray in place of the die. No sooner said than done. He waves the handkerchief, which is seen to be empty, and on raising the cover the bird is found under it, while, on turning over the hat, out falls the die. The disappearance of the cage, which is of the form shown in Fig. 253, will be readily understood by any reader who has followed the description of the "flying glass of water" described at page 367. The handkerchief used is double, and contains in its center, stitched between the two surfaces, an oblong wire frame, in size and shape exactly corresponding with the top of the cage. When the performer throws the handkerchief over the cage on the table, he takes care to bring this wire shape immediately over the cage. When he apparently lifts the cage under the handkerchief, which he does standing behind his table, he really lifts the handkerchief only, distended by the hidden wire, and with the other hand he gently lowers the cage out of sight upon the servante. So much for the disappearance of the cage. But it yet remains to be explained how the bird comes to be found under the cover in place of the die. This is effected as follows. There are 2 dice, the one solid, the other of hollow tin, and having one side wanting, but capable of being closed at pleasure by means of a sliding lid also of tin, which supplies the missing side, and is painted accordingly. The outer edge of this lid is folded over outwards in a semicircular form. See Fig. 254. The tray used, see Fig. 255, is of tin, japanned, and of ordinary appearance, but has a square piece of tin of the same size as one of the sides of the die, soldered upon its center at about 1/16 of an inch above the surface. 3 of its sides are soldered to the tray, the 4th being left open. The center of the tray is ornamentally japanned, in such a manner as to conceal this special arrangement. A duplicate bird is beforehand placed in the hollow die, which is then closed and placed either upon the servante or in one of the secret pockets of the performer, who, having borrowed a hat, secretly slips the hollow die into it, and places it on the table, mouth upwards. He now brings forward and offers for inspection the solid die, the cover, and the bird cage, placing the latter when returned upon his table rather towards the hinder edge. "The die," he carelessly remarks, "I will place in this hat," suiting the action to the word, "or better still, I will place it upon this tray, so that you may be able to keep sight of it throughout the trick." So saying, he again takes out apparently the same, but really the hollow die, and places it on the tray with the movable side downwards, in such manner as to hook the turned over portion of that side into the open edge of the corresponding square upon the tray, and places the cover over it. Handing the tray to his assistant, he proceeds to cause the disappearance of the bird cage from the handkerchief, as already described. This done, he advances to the tray and lifts the cover with the hollow die within it, first, however, sliding away cover and die together towards the opposite end of the tray, see Fig. 256, and thereby leaving behind upon the center of the tray the movable slide, the interior of which is japanned so as to correspond with the center pattern of the tray, and thus not attract any attention. The solid die, having remained in the hat, may readily be produced when required. The Decanter and the Crystal Balls. The routine of this trick, as practised by different performers, varies a good deal. We propose to describe it in two forms, the first being as nearly as possible that which was adopted by Robert Houdin. First Method. The apparatus in this case consists of 4 glass balls, 2 of plain glass an inch and a half in diameter, 1 of ruby colored glass of the same size, and 1 of plain glass 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and a decanter of clear glass, with a hollow or kick underneath it just large enough to admit one of the larger balls. The decanter is 2/3 filled with port or claret, and is brought forward with the red ball beneath it, in the hollow we have mentioned, and is placed on the performer's table. The remaining balls are disposed as follows: the 2 large balls in the performer's left pochette, and the small one in the pochette on the other side. Thus provided, the performer comes forward, wand in hand. Taking the wand carelessly in his right hand, he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have already given you some proofs of the singular powers of this wand, but I do not know whether I have drawn your attention to one remarkable faculty which it possesses, viz., that if I strike anything with it, at the same time mentally calling for any object, that object is instantly produced from the article touched. Let us put it to the test." He pulls back his coat sleeves, showing indirectly by a careless gesture that his hands are empty. "For the purpose of the trick I am about to show you, I require a crystal ball. Now observe, I give but one gentle touch, not here upon the table," he raps the table with his wand, "where you might suspect some mechanism or preparation, but here in my empty hand, and instantly you see a ball appears at my bidding." As he touches the table with the wand, thereby drawing the eyes of the spectators in that direction, he carelessly drops his left hand to his side and takes from the pochette and palms one of the plain glass balls, which as soon as the wand reaches his hand he produces at the finger tips. The ball, as you see, ladies and gentlemen, is of solid crystal, without crack or flaw. He takes it in the right hand, tosses it up, and catches it again. The hardest steel would fail to chip it, and yet, by my magic power, I am able instantly to divide it into 2 equal portions, each round and true as the original. At the moment of tossing the ball in the air, all eyes are naturally attracted to it, and the performer has ample opportunity to again drop the left hand to his side and palm the second ball. Keeping this in the palm of the left hand, he transfers the first ball to the finger tips of the same hand. Drawing the wand across it, he allows it to drop into the palm, and to strike against the ball already there. Rubbing his palms together, as if to mould the divided ball into shape, he shows the 2 balls, professedly the divided portions of the first. Taking one in each hand, he continues, "I undertook to make the divided portions exactly equal, but I have not succeeded so well as usual. It seems to me that this one is rather the larger. What say you, ladies and gentlemen?" He places the 2 balls on the table, side by side, as if for comparison, and carelessly dropping the right hand to his side, palms between the second and third fingers (see page 273) the small ball. "Yes, this one is certainly the larger, but I can easily rectify the mistake by pinching a little piece off." Taking the ball in the left hand, he pretends to pinch off a portion from it with the right, at the same time letting the little ball fall to the finger tips of the latter. He replaces the large ball on the table, rolling the little ball between the fingers, as though to give it roundness. "No, that one is still the biggest. I haven't taken quite enough yet. I must take a little more. Or better still, I will add this little piece to the smaller one." Taking the supposed smaller ball in his left hand, he pretends to squeeze the little one into it, presently letting the latter fall behind it into the palm of the left hand, and replacing the 2 larger balls side by side on the table, dropping the little ball at the first opportunity into the pochette. He continues, "I think they are now about right. The reason why I have been so particular about it is that I am about to pass one of these balls into the other, which I could not have done unless they had been of exactly the same size. Now which of them shall I pass into the other? It is for you to decide." He has meanwhile moved so as to be behind his table, standing sideways, with his right side to the table. Whichever ball the company decides is to be passed into the other, he takes in his right hand, immediately afterwards taking the other in his left hand, which he holds aloft, following it with his eyes. Stretching back the right arm, as though to give an impetus to the ball, he drops it into a padded box or basket, placed upon the servante to receive it, immediately afterwards bringing the right hand with a semicircular sweep upon the left, and rolling the ball the latter contains between the palms, as though to press the one ball into the other, and presently showing that the hands now contain one ball only. The same effect may be produced without the aid of the table, as follows: taking both the balls in his right hand, as in Fig. 257, the performer covers them with the left hand, retaining as he does so ball A with the thumb, but allowing ball B to roll down the left sleeve, which, with a little practice, will be found by no means difficult. He now rubs the palms together, as if rubbing the one ball into the other, and then separating them, shows that the two balls have become transformed into one only. This he exhibits in the right hand, and while the eyes of the company are attracted to the ball, lowers the left arm, allowing the ball to run down the sleeve into the hand, whence it is immediately dropped into the pochette on that side. The next step is the supposed coloring of the ball. The performer continues: "Ladies and gentlemen, having proved to you my perfect control over the ball in respect of size, I propose to show you that I have equal mastery over it in respect of color. This I shall do by passing it into this bottle of wine, which being red, the ball will become red also. Had the bottle contained a blue liquid, you would have found the ball become blue, and so on. The ball," he takes it in his left hand, and apparently transfers it to his right by the tourniquet, keeping the right hand closed as if containing it, and dropping it from the left into the pochette on that side, "is considerably larger than the neck of the bottle. This, in a natural way, would be rather a difficulty, but to a magician it will give very little trouble. I have only to squeeze the ball a little" he lifts the bottle with the left hand, at the same time slipping the little finger underneath it to prevent the red ball beneath it falling, and holding the right hand an inch or two above it, works the hand as if compressing the ball, "and it gradually becomes smaller and smaller until it melts completely into the bottle." He opens the right hand and shows it empty, immediately afterwards shaking the bottle, and allowing the ball beneath to rattle slightly. "The ball is now in the bottle, as you see. The next step is to get it out, and it is rather difficult to do this without at the same time allowing the wine to escape. However, we will try. I have no doubt that by strong effort of will I shall be able to manage it." He now takes the bottle between his hands, holding it so that the two little fingers are beneath, and after a little shaking, allows the ball to drop, as if through the bottle. This may be varied by holding the bottle with the left hand only, and striking the mouth with the palm of the other, allowing the ball to drop at the third stroke, professedly expelled by the compression of the air. Second Method. The balls used in this instance are 5 in number, 2 large, 1 of each color, 2 small, 1 of each color, and 1, a trifle larger than these latter, of which 1/2 is red and 1/2 white. The decanter is replaced by an ordinary wine bottle (see Fig. 258), prepared as follows: a tin tube A, 3 inches in length, closed at the bottom, but open at the top, is made to fit within the neck, just so tightly that it cannot fall out of its own accord, its upper edge being turned over all round, and japanned black, so that when placed in the bottle it may be indistinguishable from the actual neck. The cavity at the bottom of the bottle is filled with a resinous cement, in such manner as only to leave room for one of the larger balls. The tube is beforehand filled with port or claret, and placed in the neck. The bottle itself, which, if not naturally opaque, must be rendered so by an interior coating of black japan, should be nearly filled with water. Thus prepared, it is brought forward and placed on the table. The balls are disposed as follows: the 2 white ones in the left pochette of the performer, the 2 red ones and the parti colored ball in the pochette on the other side. Coming forward to the audience, the performer produces the large white ball, either as described in the first form of the trick, or from his wand in manner described at page 276. While showing it in his left hand, he drops the right hand to his side, and palms the large red ball. Laying the white ball on the table, he remarks, " I have here a bottle of wine. We will begin by testing its genuineness." He lifts the bottle by the neck with the left hand, immediately transferring it to the right, which grasps it around the bottom, and introduces beneath it the red ball, which is thenceforth kept in position by the little finger. Taking in the other hand a wine glass, which should be of such a size as just to contain the contents of the tube, he fills it with wine, and hands it to one of the company. In returning to his table, he secretly withdraws the tube. This is easily done by grasping the bottle round the neck with the left hand, and gently drawing it downwards with the right, the turned over portion of the tube being clipped by the finger and thumb of the left hand, in which it naturally remains. As the performer passes behind the table, he gets rid of the tube by dropping it on the servante. In placing the bottle on the table, he is, of course, careful not to expose the red ball underneath it. Taking the white ball in his left hand, he proposes to turn it red, and for that purpose to pass it into the bottle. Pretending to transfer it to the right hand by the tourniquet, he drops it from the left hand into the padded tray on the servante, and then apparently passes it into the bottle, as above. The routine of getting it out of the bottle again is the same as above described in relation to the first method. We may, however, here note a variation in practice. Some performers, instead of introducing the red ball under the bottle at the outset of the trick, as above described, make no attempt to bring it under the bottle until after the white ball is supposed to have been passed into the wine, when the performer, raising the bottle with the left hand, transfers it to the right, and brings the ball under it, retaining it there with the little finger until he thinks fit to allow it to drop, pretending to squeeze the bottom of the bottle as if to force it out. After having produced the red ball, the performer remarks, " Perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, you imagine that I have not really passed the ball through the bottle, and that the effect is, in reality, produced by the substitution of a different coloured ball. Let me assure you that so truly is the wine in the bottle, and nothing else, the cause of the change of colour, that you will find on examination that every particle of colour has left the wine, its whole virtue having been absorbed by the ball. Supposing for a moment that I could have exchanged the ball, you will hardly imagine that I could exchange the liquid in the bottle, which has been proved to be good old wine. Will the same gentleman who tried it before be good enough to taste it now?" Taking another glass, he fills it from the bottle, which is now found to contain nothing but water. The performer meanwhile has again palmed the white ball, which he next produces, as being a new one, from his wand. Comparing the red and the white together, he pretends to discover that the red is the largest, and therefore pinches from it a small portion, the small red ball. He now discovers that he has taken too much, and that the red ball is now the smaller. He therefore pinches a second piece, the small white ball, from the white one, and finally rolls the two little balls thus obtained into one, producing the parti-coloured ball. The mode of producing these last effects will present no difficulty to any one who has attentively studied the description of the first form of the trick. The Flags of all Nations. This is, in good hands, a very pretty and effective trick, but requires considerable neatness of manipulation. Its effect is as follows. The performer comes forward with a couple of miniature silk flags, measuring, say, 3 inches by 2. Taking one in each hand, he brings the hands together and begins to wave them backwards and forwards, when the flags are seen to multiply, the two being suddenly transformed into a dozen, quickly increasing to a still larger number. Not only do the flags increase in number, but in size also, until perhaps a couple of hundred have been produced, ranging in dimensions from 1 or 2 inches square to a foot or even larger, and of 6 or 8 different colours. This seeming marvel rests on a very slight foundation. The flags to be produced are of colored tissue paper, with flagstaffs made of wire, or of the bass of which scrubbing brooms are made, so as to occupy very little space. These are rolled up together in little parcels, like with like according to size. Thus arranged, they are placed, the smaller ones in the sleeve of the performer, and the larger ones about his person, with the ends just inside the breast of his waistcoat. While waving the first two flags backwards and forwards, he gets one of the parcels from the sleeve into his hands, immediately unrolling and developing it, when the two flags appear to have multiplied into 50. Under cover of these, he draws down from the sleeve another parcel, which he develops in like manner, and after the sleeves are exhausted has recourse to the fresh store within the waistcoat. He all along takes care to retain in his hands a large and widespread bundle of the flags, which, being kept moving backwards and forwards, materially aids in covering the mode of production of the remainder. The Umbrella Trick. The performer comes forward with an umbrella, which may be either the commonplace article of everyday life, or a brilliant fancy production akin to Joseph's coat of many colors. This he hands for inspection, and meanwhile borrows a lady's handkerchief. The latter, for safe keeping, he places in an empty vase, which is left in full view of the company. The umbrella, duly examined, he places in a case, which may be either the ordinary glazed oilskin case, or a special apparatus prepared for the purpose. Whichever it be, the result is the same. On again uncovering the vase, the handkerchief has vanished, and in its place is found the silk covering of the umbrella. On removing the umbrella from its case, it is found to have lost its covering, but the handkerchief, torn in several pieces, is found fastened to its naked ribs, one piece to each. These are removed. Again the vase is covered, and the umbrella restored to the case. The torn fragments of the handkerchief are burnt, and their ashes invisibly passed into the vase, and on a new examination the two articles are found uninjured as at first. With reference to the transformation of the handkerchief in the vase, it will be only necessary to state that the vase employed is either the burning globe (see page 246), or the pea vase described at page 351. In either case a duplicate umbrella cover is placed in the second compartment, and thus the vase may be shown to contain either the handkerchief or the umbrella cover at pleasure. With regard to the umbrella, the reader will readily conjecture that an exchange is effected, but the mode of effecting it varies. If the ordinary glazed case is used, the umbrella is exchanged bodily for another similarly encased placed beforehand on the servante. This, however, requires some little dexterity, as an umbrella, from its length, is an awkward article to exchange, and this has led to the employment of cases specially constructed to effect the change. The most frequently used is an upright pillar of zinc or tin, oval in form, and open at the top, and so constructed as to stand upright without support (see Fig. 259). It is divided vertically into two compartments, in one of which is placed beforehand the second umbrella. Of course no one can be permitted to examine or even look into the case, which is a serious drawback to the effect of the trick. There is, however, another form of case sometimes employed, which is a trifle less objectionable. This is a wooden tube about 3 feet long and 3½ inches square (see Fig. 260). Like the case already described, it is closed at the bottom and open at the top, and divided vertically into two compartments, A and B. One or other of these, however, is always closed by the flap C, which by virtue of a spring is normally compelled to take the position shown in the figure, thus closing compartment B. When required for use, the second umbrella is placed in compartment A, and the flap C drawn back, as shown by the dotted line, so as to close A, in which position it is held by a little catch. The performer hands the genuine umbrella for inspection to one of the spectators, with a request that he will himself place it in the case. As soon as he has done so, the performer by a movement of his forefinger draws back the catch and releases C, which flying back to the opposite position shuts in the genuine umbrella and reveals the substitute. When this apparatus is employed, the supposed restoration of the umbrella is omitted. Some performers dispense with the use of the vase, and vanish and reproduce the borrowed handkerchief by sleight of hand, after one or other of the modes described in relation to handkerchief tricks. The Passe-Passe Trick. The trick which is specially designated by this name, which would appear to be equally applicable to about 3 parts of the tricks we have described, is as follows. The performer brings forward a bottle and a small tumbler, which he places side by side upon the table. Producing a couple of tin or pasteboard covers, ornamentally japanned, of a size to just go over the bottle, he places one of them over the bottle and another over the glass. He now commands the 2 articles to change places, and on again removing the covers, the glass and bottle are found to be transposed. Again he covers them, and again the change takes place, and this he repeats as often as he pleases, occasionally pouring out wine or other liquor to show that the bottle is a genuine one and not a mere make-believe. The reader will already have anticipated that there are in reality 2 bottles and 2 glasses. The bottles are of tin, japanned to resemble the ordinary black bottle, but with the bottom only about a couple of inches below the neck, leaving an open place beneath for the reception of the glass. Each bottle has near the bottom, at the side which is kept away from the audience, an oval opening or finger hole, measuring about 1.5 inches by 1 inch. When it is desired to lift the glass with the bottle, the middle finger is made to press on the glass through this opening, thereby lifting both together with perfect safety. The outer cover just fits easily over the bottles, and if lifted lightly leaves the bottle on the table, but if grasped with some little pressure carries the bottle with it. The mode of working the trick will now be readily understood. The bottle which is brought forward has a second glass concealed within it, kept in position while the bottle is brought in by the pressure of the finger. The cover which is placed over this bottle is empty. The other cover, which is placed over the glass, contains the second bottle, which, being hollow below, enables the performer to rattle his wand within it, and thus, apparently, to prove the cover empty. Having covered the glass and bottle, he raises the cover of the first very lightly, leaving the glass concealed by the second bottle, but lifts the other with pressure, so carrying the bottle with it, and revealing the glass which has hitherto been concealed within it. By reversing the process, the bottle and glass are again made to appear, each under its original cover. Where it is desired to pour wine from either bottle, the performer takes care, in lifting it, to press the glass through the finger hole, and thus lifts both together. For obvious reasons, the glass into which the wine is poured should be a third glass, and not either of the 2 which play the principal part of the trick. End of Section 45.